Yo guys, Ryan here, and today I'll show you a few possible ways of how people in medieval times try to infiltrate a castle. So in the previous video we made this castle right behind me, but I added a few things. So let's go take a look. Let's first talk about the type of castle. In the 11th century in Europe, the most common castle was a motte and bailey. These were wooden structures on a big mound, which is called the motte. And on the bottom of the motte we have the bailey, which is surrounded by a palisade. But these were really easy to burn down. Just a few fire arrows can do the job. So over time, castles evolved. They were made from stone. The castle we have here is called a concentric castle. These were built around the end of the 13th century. So if we go up, this is the castle. So we have an inner, wait, that's not the inner. We have an inner and an outer wall, and the outer wall is higher. We have multiple gatehouses. The inner and outer bailey, which are like the courtyards of the castle. These both have some buildings, which I didn't make. In the center there's normally a keep, but again I did not build that. So that's in the keep is where the lord or the king would have lived. So the outer gatehouse is the main entrance. Most of the time it has a drawbridge, not with my design. Wooden gates, again, mine does not have. And one or more portcullis, which is basically the gate. Most of the time around the castle we have a ditch, and sometimes it's filled with water, but that was too much work for me, so I didn't do that. Right here we have towers on the corners, we have drum towers, and we have some turrets. Now that you are familiar with this castle, now we can start thinking of how you would infiltrate such thing. Now if you want to infiltrate a castle, you can do two things. You either find a way to get inside of the castle, or have the castle under siege. For the siege, you surround the castle with men and catapults so that no one goes in or out, and basically you just wait until they run out of resources or food, which can take months. Now for the purpose of this video, I'll choose the first way. So how do you get in the castle? Something very effective yet dangerous is to just have ladders. Long ladders big enough to get into the castle. Why is it dangerous? Because when you're climbing up, they can throw stones at you, boiling hot oil or water, or they could use a long stick to tip the ladder over, and then of course you'll fall from a great height. To prevent this, the enemy developed something like this. This is called a siege tower or a belfry. It's a big structure on wheels which can be pushed up to the walls, and the ladders inside allow the attackers to safely climb up and down. These things can be 10 stories high and can house multiple catapults and many archers. Castle builders prevented this thing by piling dirt against the castle so they couldn't push it near the walls. Or they would have a ditch or a moat. Now if you can't get over the walls, maybe you can go right through them. So you can use something like a battering ram. You and other soldiers would be standing in here, and you were shielded from arrows. These are supposed to be animal hides. And basically when you ram this log against a gate or a tower or a wall, you can break it. Or you could use a mangonel. A mangonel is a type of catapult with a bowl-shaped bucket at the end, and it's used to throw projectiles. Another type of catapult is a trebuchet. Using a counterweight, it can throw stones up to 135 kilograms, 350 meters. So basically how it works is inside this you have the stone, and right now it's held up by ropes, and when you cut the rope the counterweight goes down, which means this thing gets shot all the way there. So this is when it's loaded. In this position it's when the stone is getting thrown out, right into the castle wall, and this is its resting position. So after it threw its stone, it is like wiggling, and then at some point it's in this position, and then they can use the rope to bring this down and counterweight up back into that position. But there's a downside to this. It breaks rather quickly. A mangonel, on the other hand, was very easy to set up and move. Although it was less precise and it has less power, it's still pretty good. This one doesn't work with a counterweight though. This one uses twisted rope, so by release the rope begins to act elastic, which means this thing gets turned 90 degrees. The stone that's in the bucket doesn't stop there, it gets launched all the way there. And if you're curious how I did the buttons, with battery blocks. But another very interesting question is, what were their projectiles? Everyone knows you can use stone, the rounder the stone, the better it flies. But they could also throw other things, like fire pots. These are clay pots with Greek fire, and by impact they explode. they cause a lot of fire, and you can't even put it out with water. And this would work especially well against hoardings, but I don't have these on my castle. But they would also throw other things, like dead, sometimes rotting carcasses of sheep, and they would throw them over the walls to spread diseases and demoralize. Of course, there are a lot of other ways to attack a castle, like using a ballista. Also, if you're wondering what these are wooden panels where archers can sit behind and shoot from. Now there's one thing I haven't mentioned yet, and it's probably the most effective way to take down a wall or even a whole tower, and that is mining. They would mine tunnels to right under the towers or keep or gatehouses if possible, and then they set a charge or explosion which would make the ground where the walls or tower is standing on implode, which makes the structure above it collapse. Like you can see here. They dug out a room, and the wooden post that is holding everything up is slowly burning away, which means after a little bit of time the ceiling collapses and the wall that's right above us right now will also collapse. Which could look something like this. So you can see very clearly the wall has collapsed. Now of course I know that there's definitely not enough rubble here to represent a wall that has fallen over, but you get the idea. However, if the defenders knew that they were mining as well, they would actually mine themselves to meet the attackers underground, and then there will be some violent battles going on underground. The way castle builders will deal with that is to have a ditch, if possible filled with water, and that will make digging a whole lot more difficult. And such a war can take weeks. In case of a siege, it can take months. So if possible, before the enemy arrives at the castle, peasant farmers would take all the resources they can carry and literally burn their houses and crops, so the enemy wouldn't have anything for free to take from them. But of course the defenders will always be ready to shoot an arrow or two at the attackers, or pour boiling hot water or oil at them, because the castle is literally built to withstand these attacks and defend the people inside. So you would want to think twice before you attack a castle. But that was it for me today. I really hope you enjoyed. I think there are a few things that I haven't shown yet, which is this fallen tower, and I guess also how I did the barrier blocks. But yeah, next video will be a tutorial for the trebuchet. So this is my design. In fact, everything here is my design. So I will do a tutorial on that one in the next video. But anyways, I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.